So it is that time again, and we are back with some championship score predictions. And as it is the weekend before Christmas, I thought in today's video I'd also do a giveaway for you guys as well, to basically say thank you for all the support you've shown on the channel throughout the year. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel to go ahead and enter the giveaway. All you have to do is leave your score predictions in the comments down below, and whoever gets the most correct this weekend will win a £20 gift voucher of their choosing. So that can be for the PlayStation Store, the Xbox Store, for Amazon, for anything really. The rules to enter the giveaway are quite simple really. You have to leave your comment before 3 PM on Saturday, that's when the games do kick off. You also can't edit your comment as well, so once you've left the comment just leave it there, and you also can't leave multiple comments with multiple different score predictions, as that wouldn't really be fair. If there are multiple people who do have the highest number of score predictions correct this weekend, then I'll pick one of them at random to go ahead and win the giveaway, and then I'll announce the winner in Monday's video of the championship roundup, so make sure you guys are staying tuned for that one. Good luck to everyone predicting matches this weekend, but without further ado, let's get into my score predictions. And starting it out between Blackburn Rovers and Norwich City this weekend, taking place at Ewood Park. A tricky one to predict this one. Last time in the championship we saw both these sides drawing 2-2. Norwich in their game they had against Bristol City, I didn't think it was the best performance we've seen of Norwich so far this season. I thought they were probably second best for the most of that one really. They have been missing a couple of key players lately in the championship, both Tim Close and Leitner as well. I think the sooner they get back in the team, the better for Norwich really. For this game I'd also quite like to see Onel Hernandez getting back into the starting 11. I thought he made quite a good impact when he came off the bench against Bristol City. Going away to Blackburn Rovers isn't going to be an easy one for Norwich though, you know, even with Norwich being on this current unbeaten run, sat second in the championship. Lately, Blackburn have been scoring a lot of goals at home. Danny Graham's been in some fantastic form lately. For this one, I do see quite a few goals being scored in it really. I don't think there's going to be all too much in it between these two sides, and I'm going to back this one to finish as a 2-2 draw. I think it'll be a good game this weekend. FIFA's going to say it'll be 2-0 Norwich. And then we got a huge game at the bottom of the championship between Brentford and Bolton Wanderers. If Bolton come out of this one with all 3 points, they'll only be 1 point behind Brentford in the championship. Two sides going up against each other who are probably on each of them, you know, the worst runs of form in the championship currently. Neither side's going to be playing with a lot of confidence, and I'm very intrigued to see how Bolton are actually going to go ahead and approach this game really, because so far this season we've seen Bolton being the lowest scorers in the championship. Brentford have got an awful defensive record though. They seem to capitulate in small periods of games. We'll have like a 10-minute period where they concede 3 goals, and if Bolton can latch onto that, get a lot of balls into the box, look to be quite direct against this Brentford side, they could get quite a lot of joy out of them. I don't just want to see Bolton sitting back and defending for this one. I really want them to go for it. Brentford have shown so far this season that they can score goals. They've scored more than double than what Bolton have scored so far this season, but even so, I'm just not convinced by their defensive efforts so far, and for this game, I think it'll be quite a cagey one. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, and FIFA is going to agree with me. And then we see Derby going up against Bristol City. Bristol City have seemingly turned their form around recently. They're unbeaten in their last 4 championship matches, and the game they had last weekend against Norwich City was arguably the best I've seen Bristol City so far this season really. There was a lot more intensity about them. There was a lot more chances being created. You know, we've seen from Bristol City a couple times this season, them being quite limp going forward, but that certainly wasn't the case against Norwich City, and going against this Derby side, it could be an interesting one. We've seen Derby have a couple of falters with their defence so far this season, but they're certainly capable of scoring goals, and Derby themselves are on a very consistent run currently in the championship, which sees them comfortably sat in the top 6 at this point in time. Their last game, of course, being a goalless draw against Nottingham Forest. I don't see this game being quite as cagey as that one was. You know, neither side in that game wanted to really give much away, as it was a local derby. Going up against Bristol City, I do see quite a few goals being scored with the way that Bristol City were playing against Norwich. Callum O'Dowda is someone who I really want to see more of for Bristol City going forward this season. I thought he was excellent against Norwich, and for this game, I'm going to back it to finish as a 2-2 draw. See it being quite an open, end-to-end engaging game of football, and I'll say 2-2. FIFA's going to say it'll be 2-1 Derby. And then we see Ipswich Town going up against Sheffield United. We saw Ipswich get their first win under Paul Lambert last weekend, a 1-0 home victory against Wigan Athletic, and they'll need to take some of that confidence into this game against Sheffield United. Sheffield United, they are still sat in the top 6, but their form has been a little bit stuttery. They've only won 2 of their last 7 championship matches, and in some of those games they have been getting a little bit unlucky. You know, the game they had last weekend, they had a good first half, but in their second half just couldn't quite keep the pace up with West Brom. But going away to Ipswich, I think it is a good chance for Sheffield United to bounce back in this one. Ipswich did show a lot more resilience, I thought, defensively in their last game against Wigan. You know, they were putting bodies on the line, and they had to really grind out the last 15 minutes of that game. A clean sheet for Ipswich could do them their absolute world of good really going into this game, as before that they were looking very nervous defensively. Sheffield United are an interesting one. I imagine they're going to have a lot of the ball for this game. They like to create a lot of chances per game. It's just sometimes they can be a little bit wasteful with some of those chances. I'm just going to back the away side because I think they will have a bit more attacking quality in this one. I'll say it'll be 2-1 to Sheffield United, but you can never really rule out Ipswich, you know. They may have turned the corner getting that win last weekend. I'll say 2-1 United. Fever's going to say 2-0 Ipswich. And then we see Nottingham Forest going up against QPR. Not the easiest of games to predict this weekend. Nottingham Forest are going to look to get back to winning ways after a draw and a defeat in their last 2 championship matches. And QPR can be some quite tricky customers, really. Obviously, in their last game, they picked up a fantastic 2-1 home victory against Middlesbrough. A very convincing performance from that game. Naki Wells, someone who I've really liked the look of so far this season, offers that threat on the counter-attack, and they really can stretch you by getting in behind. They got quite a lot of pace going forward now, QPR. Nottingham Forest, though, it does have to be said that QPR have an awful record at the City Ground. I believe they've never won there. In 34 attempts, they've won none, drawn 14, and lost 20 of them. So that statistic in itself is edging me to back in Nottingham Forest this weekend, really. I do feel like Forest will get back to winning ways sooner rather than later. They've got the quality in that side to do so. And for this one, I will just back Nottingham Forest for a 2-1 home victory. Whereas FIFA's going to say it'll be 1-0 Forest. And then we see Reading going up against Middlesbrough. Neither side playing brilliantly at this point in time. Reading are without a win in their last 6 championship matches, and Middlesbrough are without a win in their last 5 games in all competitions. Obviously, they were knocked out of the cup by Burton Albion earlier on in the week. And it's an interesting one. Middlesbrough have really been slipping down the championship lately. They're all the way down to 6th position at this point in time. But what does need to be said is they have some very winnable games coming up over this Christmas period. And it starts now against a Reading side who are still without a manager. When they went ahead and sacked Paul Clement, I thought that the board would have, you know, an instant reaction to that and they'd have someone lined up to come in immediately. That's not been the case. They're still without a manager, and it's an interesting one because although Reading haven't been very good lately in the championship at home, they do tend to score quite a few goals. They're quite good on the counter-attack. They can stretch the game by getting in behind, and going up against a Middlesbrough side who have been looking quite suspect defensively lately, it could go either way this one. I'd like to see Tavernier starting for Middlesbrough in this game. I think he at least offers them something different going forward, a different dynamic, and creativity going forward has been something that Middlesbrough have really been lacking so far this season. So for this one, I'm going to say it's going to finish as a 1-1 draw. I don't see too much splitting these two. FIFA's going to say it'll be 2-0 Reading. And then we see Rotherham going up against West Brom. West Brom will be hoping to keep the pressure on both Leeds United and Norwich City in the top 2 at this point in time, with West Brom just 4 points behind them. It's going to be an interesting one. Rotherham so far this season have been very resilient at home. I believe they've only lost 1 game at home all season so far, so West Brom may find it tough to break them down in this one. In their last game, West Brom I thought were very impressive in the Championship, a 2-1 away victory against Sheffield United. They took their chances when they came around and they had some really nice passing moves going forward. Rotherham are always going to be a threat from counter-attacks and set pieces coming into the box. Their last game in the Championship, I didn't think that Rotherham were at their best, but I expect them to make it quite tough for West Brom in this game. I am just going to back the away side, West Brom, for a 2-1 away victory. It always comes back to bite me, really, whenever I do back Rotherham to lose a game, because they always seem to pull something out of the bag, but I will say West Brom. FIFA's going to say 2-1 Rotherham. And then we see Sheffield Wednesday going up against Preston North End. Preston have to be fancying their chances going into this one, as we've only lost 1 of our last 12 matches, and Sheffield Wednesday have been pretty abysmal lately. You know, they've got the worst defensive record in the Championship. The only reason I'm a little bit nervous going towards this one is because our record at Hillsborough in recent years hasn't been very good. You know, last year we had Nuhue have an absolute masterclass against us, and the year before that we had Jermaine Beckford and Owen Doyle, 2 Preston players having a fight against each other and both of them getting sent off. So Preston at Hillsborough hasn't been a happy ground for us recently, but like I said, we have to fancy our chances. Quite a lot has been spoken about with Sheffield Wednesday recently, with the owner recently putting them up for sale. They had a fans forum earlier on in the week and quite a few interesting things came out of that. We've seen first team players just being alienated from the squad so far this season. Players like Westwood and Hutchinson have been nowhere to be seen recently, and I do feel as if a win for Preston in this one could be the end for the manager there. I've been surprised that the board hasn't acted sooner. I'm surprised he's still got a job there, because they have been awful lately. They seem to have about half-an-hour spells of games where they absolutely fall apart. They tend to start games quite well and then just fall apart as soon as they concede 1 goal. For this one, I am going to back Preston for a 2-1 away victory. Even with the current injuries we've still got about 6 or 7 players out injured at this point in time. It would be the nature of the Championship, really, for Sheffield Wednesday to absolutely batter us in this one, but I will say 2-1 to Preston. FIFA's going to say it'll be a 1-1 draw. And then we see Stoke going up against Millwall. The home side should be fancying their chances going into this game, with them being on a decent unbeaten run in the Championship currently, and the away side Millwall really do not have a brilliant away record. On the road so far this season, Millwall have struggled, and Millwall do find themselves in the bottom 3 currently. I don't necessarily think their performances have been disastrous so far this season. It's just been they seem to shoot themselves in the foot by silly defensive mistakes and letting the game slip slip away from them into the later stages of it. Stoke in their last game against Aston Villa, I thought got quite unlucky not to pick up all 3 points in that game really. I thought they were the better side over 90 minutes. They were creating a lot of chances for that game, and this is the sort of game where Stoke need to be targeting all 3 points from, and I do fancy them to get it from this game, and I will back them for a 3-1 home victory, with FIFA saying it'll be 2-1 Millwall. And then we see Wigan going up against Birmingham this weekend. Neither side has been playing brilliant lately. Obviously Wigan in their last game in the Championship losing 1-0 against Ipswich Town. I do feel as if Wigan really are lacking someone like Nick Powell at this point in time. They really have been missing him in recent weeks, as some of the goals going forward for them have seemingly dried up. Going up against a Birmingham side who they themselves haven't been all at it so far in the last few weeks in the Championship. You know, the last game they did have a 2-2 draw against Blackburn Rovers. Probably they did get a little bit fortunate to get back into that game with a goalkeeping mistake from David Raya from Blackburn, but even so, it shows Birmingham's resilience to go to the final whistle. The game they had before that as well, losing 1-0 against Bristol City, not their finest performance so far this season, but with the attacking two that they've got, Challenge and Djukovic, they bring an attacking threat into any game really, and this one, I'm going to fancy Birmingham for a 2-0 away victory. Wigan lately haven't looked all too convincing. I feel like that loss they had against Ipswich Town may have set them on a little bit of a downward trend for the next few weeks. So for this one, I am going to back Birmingham for a 2-0 away victory. FIFA's going to say it'll be 2-1 Wigan. Then we've got Hull City going up against Swansea City. Hull recently have been scoring quite a few goals in the Championship actually. They've scored 7 goals in their last 3 Championship matches and definitely bring a threat into this game against Swansea City. Swansea lately have turned their form back around. They've won their last 2 games after they went on a little bit of a dodgy patch before that. The one thing I would say about Swansea is they have seemingly struggled against teams below them so far this season. They tend to do quite well against the sides at the top of the Championship, but the ones who are sort of in and around the relegation zone, Swansea don't tend to have the best record against. So it's quite an interesting one, this one. Both sides have been scoring goals lately. Swansea I thought did very well in their last game to turn the game around against Sheffield Wednesday, and Hull lately though, they've been picking up some decent results. They've got an attacking threat going forward. Fraser Campbell's been a decent striker for them lately. He scored 2 goals in their last game in the Championship, and they have started to make a little bit of a gap between themselves and the relegation zone. There's currently a 5-point gap, so the longer this sort of unbeaten run can continue for Hull City, the better really. Swansea are probably going to try to play Hull around for this one, look to get control of the ball early on from this game, but there have been some instances where Swansea have been a little bit lackadaisical defensively, and so for this game I'm going to back it to finish as a 2-2 draw. I don't see all too much being it between these two sides this weekend, whereas FIFA's going to say it'll be 2-1 Hull. And in our last game to predict sees the Sunday kickoff between Aston Villa and Leeds United, one game I'm very much looking forward to watching. It's a tricky one to predict. I believe that Aston Villa are still without Jack Grealish for this game, which is going to be a massive blow for them. You know, the last game they had in the Championship, a 2-2 draw against Stoke City, Aston Villa weren't really at it. There wasn't really an intensity from Villa in that game, which we come to expect from them under Dean Smith so far. It was a little bit of a tired performance, so Villa fans will be hoping that their team has been revitalised lately, as going up against Leeds United, they're going to need to have a very energetic performance. Of course, Leeds currently sat top of the Championship. They're going to want to extend this unbeaten run they're currently on and look to carry on making that gap bigger and bigger between third place. I believe that Luke Ayling also could be returning for Leeds United this weekend. That would be a big bolster to their defensive lineup for this one, and it's nice to see Patrick Bamford getting back in with the goals as well. I think this one's going to be a really good game of football. There's going to be chances created from both sides. Both teams are going to look to try and take control of this football match, and it's going to be a really interesting tactical battle between Smith and Bielsa for this one, and I don't see there being all too much split in the two sides. One part of me is slightly leaning towards Leeds, because if Aston Villa are without Grealish, that just takes away something from their midfield, but even so, I'm going to back this one to finish as a 2-2 draw. There should be goals in this game, and it should be a good one to watch. I'll say 2-2, FIFA's going to say 2-1 Leeds. But guys, there you have it. There are my score predictions for this upcoming weekend, so make sure you guys do go ahead and get your score predictions in the comments down below for a chance to win the giveaway this weekend. But apart from that guys, that will now wrap it up for this video, so if you did go to enjoy, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you do subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.